Hey everybody, it's Jill the Wandering Stamper. I hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday and I hope you're not too hot. It is so hot right now in Colorado Springs. I think it's 94 degrees and there's hardly any humidity. We just came from camping over the weekend at almost 10,000 feet, so it was actually cool. We had long pants on and jackets and in the evening, and it was great. And then we came back down the mountain and back to our camp spot that we're staying in for the summer, and it is super hot. So I'm glad to be inside stamping today. There's no better place than air conditioning when it's that hot outside. So today we're making a fun fold. I don't know what it's called. I kind of call it an accordion with a pop out, but I wanted to show you how to make it. It's super cute, and I've got a couple of extra samples that show you some very unique variations that are totally different than the card I'm going to show you. So let's take a moment to turn the camera down and we'll get started. Thanks for joining me. Here's the recipe of what we are going to use to create these cards. So I've got some alcohol blends. These are in Misty Moonlight, Calypso Coral, and Lost Lagoon. So we'll be using those, or I use those to do some coloring. I've actually done the coloring ahead of time. We're going to mostly be using the Country Flower stamp set and dies, but I'm also going to be pulling in these flowers from the Country Birdhouse. If you didn't know, these two stamp sets actually coordinate together. So if you notice, the fonts are the same, they match, and the flowers are the same. So you can use these together and get twice as much creativity out of it because it all does coordinate nicely. So I think that's a kind of a special little bonus with these two stamp sets, that they're kind of sister stamps and sister dies to each other. So it gives you a lot of coordination. We're also going to be using the Country, what is it called? The Country Woods 12 by 12 paper. I've chosen to use this pattern. These are all wood patterns, and then we're going to pair it with some basic gray and some pool party paper. All right, so that is what we're using. And I'm going to set these aside so they're not in our way. And I've also pulled this little label punch. My punches get so scratched up when we're moving. But it's a very thin tag. And I'm going to show you a neat way to use that with one of these stamps. So let's get started. Let me pull my little cart close. As you know, I'm in an RV, so space is limited. So I keep a lot of my stuff right on a little cart next to me. And then when we are moving far away, it goes in my closet. And it's not an easy thing to put in my closet, let me tell you. All right, so we're going to start out with a basic gray card base, and I'm going to cut that at 5.5 inches. And then it's going to be 8 inches wide. So I know that this is an 8.5 sheet of paper, so I'm just going to cut 1/2 inch off of it. All right, so we've got 5.5 by 8.5. Get some of my things out of the way here. Now we're going to do some scoring. So I'm going to push my cutting blade to the bottom, and we're going to score it at 2 inches and 6 inches. So we're going to place the paper on the long side. So we're going to score at 2 inches and 6 inches. All right, now we're going to rotate the paper this way so the short end is at the top, and we're going to put it at the 1.25 inch mark, and we're only going to cut between that 2 inch and that 6 inch mark. Okay, so I'm going to hold my blade up a little bit, and I'm going to pull my cutting blade to the 2 inch mark. I put a white strip of paper so I can see my numbers against this dark cardstock, and I'm going to put it about 2 inches, and then I'm going to push it down, and I'm going to cut down to the 6 inch mark. The beauty of the Stampin' Up! Cutter is that you can see all these measurements so well that it makes these kind of cuts very simple. So now we're going to turn it around and do the opposite side. So I'm going to place this paper at 1.25 inches. I'm going to put my cutter about at the 2 inch line, and I'm going to cut down to the 6 inch line. Okay, just like that. And then you can actually very carefully lift up and look and see, I need to cut just a little further. There we go. All right, so now I've got these 2 slits right here. So now we're going to put our paper back up so the long side is at the top. All right, and we're going to put it on the 4-inch mark. We're going to move that scoring blade back to the bottom, get it out of the way, and we're going to score just the top section to the first cut. So I'm only scoring right up here, and then I'm going to move my scoring tool down to the bottom, and I'm going to score at the bottom. Okay, so we only scored this part and this part. All right, so now the next thing we're going to do is put our paper on the 3-inch score line. Now we're only going to score between the 1 1/4 down. So we're basically we're scoring where the center piece is. All right, if that makes sense. So I am scoring just the middle. So I scored from this cut line to this cut line. All right, now we're going to flip our paper around again, put it on the 3-inch mark, and do the same thing. So I'm just cutting, or I'm sorry, I'm scoring, excuse me, the middle. All right, so now we have our 2 cuts right here and right here, and I've scored here and I've scored here. All right, so that's it. Let me show you how this comes together. So to fold this, we're going to fold this side in. This is one of our 2-inch marks, right? And this was that 6-inch score line, this other side. So I'm using my bone folder. Okay, so that's that. So now you have this 4-inch score line on the top and the bottom, and that's going to come forward. All right, so this comes forward, so it's a mountain fold. And then these 2 score lines also come forward to a mountain fold, okay? And when you do that, it all pretty much goes exactly where you want it. It just folds itself. So I'm just gonna go over it with the bone folder, make sure all my creases are tight, all right? So now when this card opens, you've got these 2 center pieces, and then you've got this flat panel right here, all right? So it sits up like that. Pretty cool, right? So that's the base. That's all there is to it. Once you've done 1 or 2, it's super simple. Now, I've already cut the pieces that I need, but I'm going to go through what I cut. So you're going to want to cut 4 pieces of basic white cardstock, and you're going to cut those at 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. 4 of these, so 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. So 4 of those. And then the designer series paper that will be layered on top of these white panels will be 1 5/8 by 5 1/8. So I just went down 1/8 of an inch. So you're going to have 2 pieces of designer series paper to layer onto these 4 white pieces, and then 2 of the white pieces you're going to keep blank. So you'll have 4 of these and 2 that have a designer series paper layer. So again, the plain basic white is going to be 1 3/4 by 5 1/4, and the 2 pieces of designer series paper are going to be 1 5/8 by 5 1/8, okay? And that is going to be layered on the front, and the 2 plain pieces are going to be stamped on and put on the back to write our message on, okay? So then the next thing you want to cut are 2 pieces of pool party, and that is going to be 2 5/8, make sure I'm doing this right, 2 3/4 by 1 3/4. I have so many measurements written down. So each of these will be 2 3/4 by 1 3/4, and you're going to cut 2 of them. And then you're going to do your designers or your basic white cardstock, just 1/8 of an inch smaller. So that's going to be 1 5/8 and 2 5/8. So it's just 1/8 of an inch smaller. Okay. So one of these will be stamped on and put on the front, and then the other piece will go on the back. All right. So that is those. And now you're going to want to cut pieces for these 4 little panels right here. So if we flatten the card out, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are going to be 1 3/4 by 1 inch. You're going to cut 4 of them. And then you're going to do little pieces of designer series paper, and that's going to be 1 5/8 by 7/8. So pretty much everything's just going down 1/8 of an inch. So you're going to have 4 of those, and they are going to go here, 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 and here. I didn't cut any for the back. All right? So that is everything that's going to go on the front except for these 2 side panels. So the 2 side panels are going to be 3/4 by 2 3/4, and that's in basic white. So 3/4 by 2 3/4, and you probably already have figured out. Now we're going down 1/8, so it's going to be designer series paper 5/8 by 2 5/8. Okay, so they're layered just slightly smaller, and then those are going to go on the sides. All right, so that's everything for the front. So since I've shown you how those are cut, let me go ahead and glue those on for you. Except we're not going to glue the middle because we've got to do a little stamping on that. So we're going to set that one aside, but I'm going to glue the rest of the pieces on for you so you can get a visual of what the front is going to look like. Okay, so now that we have those all put together, now we just have our centerpiece for the front. So what I'm going to be doing is I've decided to build one of these flowers on the front of this panel. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm not stamping on this, so I'm going to go ahead and glue it onto the pool party. And again, there's just a narrow margin here. Using my silicone craft sheet, trying not to make a mess today. I've been a messy stamper today. I've been working on different cards all afternoon, and I have made a mess today, I can tell you. Now, what I did is I took one of the In the Country Flower stamp set. Now, I put my dies in here because I put them on a piece of magnet. But you've got this water jug, and you also have this little piece that sort of is the same shape. And it makes a small bucket. So what I did is I took a piece of that same designer series paper we used here, and I just die cut this little bucket, and then I stamped the words Flower Market from the Flower Market stamp on the front. And then I also, before you came on, because you don't want to watch me color, I used my alcohol blends to color these flowers. These are the Calypso Coral, the Misty Moonlight, and the Lost Lagoon. And then I die cut them using the dies, the coordinating dies. And since I was coloring, and I knew I would be decorating, I took these flowers from the Country Birdhouse set. And as you can see, they match. And so I went ahead and colored some of those in too. I did 2 each so we could figure out and have enough for our cards. So that the dies that coordinate with these really are pretty, and they make your card creations really stand out. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the back of this little wooden bucket. Putting just a little drop on the handles so they don't lift up. And I'm going to pop this down probably about right here, just kind of eyeballing the center. All right, now I have my big flowers, and I think I'm going to pop those on with dimensionals because I want them to stand out. So I'm going to grab my take your pick tool and my dimensionals, and I'm just going to put those all around. I just want to get some good coverage because I'm sure the person I give it to is going to be playing with it. So, because why not, right? I like to make all my cards sturdy because I want people who get them to play with them and try them out and fold and unfold them and do all those fun things. So that should be plenty. I know that's probably a lot, but I happen to know the person I give this to is probably going to give it a lot of use, so I want to make sure they're balanced. So I am just pulling off these papers and throwing them away so they're not all over my RV. So just figure out the way you want your flowers. I like to put them this way. And I'm just going to pop that on just like that. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do to the front. But look how pretty it is. I actually might color these flowers in with some Wink of Stella and make them shimmer a little. I might add that at the end. I think that would be really pretty. But they look perfect just the way they are, so you really don't have to. So now I'm just going to center this piece right here, and I'm kind of trying to just keep everything at the same height. Okay? So now I feel like it needs some more wording. So what I wanted to do is, there's a stamp in the stamp set that says best period, friend period, ever period. But it's too long to go on this. So I was looking at it and realized, and I've left my scissors somewhere. I'm going to grab a pair of scissors here. So I stamped it twice, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So the first one that I stamped with, I realized that this little punch, and I'll have to see what it's called, I forget. This will punch out these words, and I'm gonna divide them up. So I'm gonna do best friend, and if you look, it's perfectly spaced to do that, to cut that out. So I'm taking it right in the middle, and I'm gonna punch that out. Okay, so now it's a more useful shape. So I'm gonna throw this piece away. And then I stamped a second one so I could do the word ever. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing, just getting it straight. Okay. And then, of course, I want to do the same thing for this, but what I'm going to do, obviously, this is going to be too long to put in my hole punch. So if you do that, here's a little tip. Just put a little glue dot on the back. Get my glue dots. And I'm going to make a little tab. So I'm going to grab a glue dot, and I'm going to grab a little scrap. This is just a scrap I have. I'm going to put that glue dot on there. And then I'm going to just put it right there. Oh, look at this. I had a glue dot on my thumb. Peel that off. What are the chances of me grabbing one on my thumb as I'm telling you? That's crazy. All right. This is the beauty of having the adhesive eraser. Just rub that off. All right, well, you get the, I'm gonna do this one again, but you get the idea. So you put that on there, and then you can feed it back through the die and then cut it exactly where you want to cut it, and you don't have to worry about, you know, trying to get it hold it in there. We made a handle for it, all right, if that makes sense. But since I messed that one up, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to stamp another one. So I'm going to grab the stamp, best laid plans, go figure, one little glue dot, and we complete habit on what I was doing. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp one more. All right, and remember, we only need the word ever, but we've got the whole thing. And I'm just trying to clean this off before I forget there's black ink on it. All right. So, I'm going to grab that punch again. And we only wanted the word ever. So, I'm putting it in here as straight as possible. All right. And because I did this in the middle, I have a little more room this time. So now I'm just going to make it shorter, just like that. All right, so there's our word. Get rid of all this garbage. But I wanted to show you how to make a little handle when you're using your punch so that, you know, you're not having to do gymnastics to try to get that to fit. So what I'm going to do is when I close my card up, I want to have, both flaps can be in the same spot, but I like to alternate them. So I know I'm going to put it like this. So I'm going to put the best friend here, and then I'm going to put ever right here, okay? And then when it opens, it works out perfectly. But I'm going to add some dimensionals because why not? So I'm going to go ahead and open those, and these are perfect for the mini dimensionals. So I'm going to put 2 on this little piece. Hopefully you can see me. And I'll put probably 4. Got 3 left. So I have some little strips cut. I cut all my end strips too so that I use every little bit, so I'll just use one of those. Okay, so my best friend is going to go up here, just like that. And I noticed I've put my last dimensional a little too far, which is no problem because you can just pull it off. I don't really push them on there real hard until I'm sure. So what I'm going to do is grab my sticky scissors, because I've left my other sticky scissors somewhere. Where did I put them? I'm gonna make myself crazy today. All right, and I'm just gonna cut a little piece here from the scrap, and I'm gonna tuck that under here so that it doesn't show where the edge of the card sticks out, okay? So just a little card surgery. And now this piece will fit no problem because it's small. Okay, so there's that. So I feel like we could do a little bit more. So remember, we cut some of these and colored them. So I colored it and die cut it. So I'm going to add one over here to give it a little bit more color. And I'm just going to glue it on. I'm not going to use dimensionals on that. Which way do I want it? I'll put it this way. That. Super pretty. And I think I have enough room to add one more, because remember, when it closes, it's going to go like this. So this piece can hang over just a little bit. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off this leaf, just like that, so that I don't want it to not fit in the envelope. Okay, so that made it perfect. So I just gave it a little haircut. And I'm going to add some glue. I'm using my multi-purpose liquid glue today. And I'm just going to kind of put that right here, like that. Okay, so it just gave it a little extra decoration. And when it closes, you'll be able to see it, and it doesn't stick. Move it over just a little more. It doesn't stick out too much, so it'll fit in the envelope just fine. So I just gave it a little trim. All right, so that's the front. We're going to add some embellishments at the end, but let me show you what to do on the back. So we've got, getting a new piece of scrap paper. All right, so we've got this back. We want to do a little bit of decorating. So we've got these 2 panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue these on the back. Now, if I wanted to, I could add another saying, I could add some decorations, but I just want to keep this plain and simple because I'm going to do something special in the middle. Whoops. So I'm going to just add my liquid glue and hopefully not get it on my scrap paper that I just pulled. Let's be safe. There we go. So I'm just going to lay this on here just like so. Make sure it's straight. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I like to look at it and make sure that they line up nicely so they don't look all wonky. All right, so now we're going to do a little stamping. We have this left, so we're going to do a little stamping here. And I love the stamp that says, "So lucky to know you." So I am going to grab that and my block and my Memento ink. Tuxedo black is the best. Inking that up well, and then I'm going to hopefully get this straight. Yay, I'm on a roll today with getting things straight. And then I'm going to add, I have these extra flowers that I cut, so I think I'm going to add those right here, and that will look really pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these. Just a tiny bit of adhesive. We'll put one here. I've had a lot of fun with this fold. I really enjoy a card that comes together quickly but has a lot of character. So I'm just adding 2 of those just like that, and now I'm going to put my liquid glue on the back, and we're going to glue it down to our pool party. The pool party looks so pretty with this, especially against the basic gray. It's super pretty. You could also put this flower on with dimensionals. I think if I did it again, I'd pop this second one up with a dimensional, but it looks pretty the way it is. So once you have all your layers cut, this card, it really comes together quickly. Let me make sure I'm putting this the right direction. I did that the other day on the last video. I put something upside down, and after the video I had to fix it. All right, so that's the back. So you have plenty of room to write. You can write on both of these panels, and it's still got a nice little message. I'm leaning way too far up. So it has a nice little message, and then on the front, I think all we need to do is add some bling. I actually pulled the dazzling diamonds because I felt like it really just needed a little sparkle. So I'm going to grab, now this is going to close like this so we can see both words. So I'm going to put our bling over here. I'm going to put 2 here, and then I'm going to put 1 down here. All right, to balance it out. Now I've got a little glob of glue, and let me tell you, if you don't have one of these glue erasers, get yourself one. I use it all the time. If you get a little glue on your paper, you can just erase it right off, and it won't leave a little sticky spot. So there we go. Let me move some of my mess out of the way so you can see what we've done. So here's our card. Beautiful, right? And it's so pretty. It slides right into the envelope like this. It sits up on the counter like this. I love how this focal point is front and center. And it's almost like a little sign right here in the middle. So I love that, and I love that there's still plenty of room to put whatever you want to write on the back. So, and you can decorate the sides. You can do so much with this card fold. It's very versatile. So there's our first sample. Let me show you the other card I made. So this card was a lot of fun. This was very simple. I used the Take to the Sky suite. I used the paper, the stamps, and the dies. And I put this on smoky slate with Night of Navy, and it's just very monochromatic. The middle panel, I stamped the clouds in tuxedo black Memento ink, die cut this fun little airplane, and added some blue rhinestones to it. Very simple. It says flying high to say goodbye, or say hi. And on the back it just says to my friend. I left the center panel blank. I didn't worry about it. If you'll notice, I also stamped some of the background stamp onto the back. And if you noticed, I didn't add a layer behind this designer series paper. I kept this one super simple and just attached the designer series paper. So the only thing I layered was the center panel. I layered the smoky slate onto the Night of Navy. So there is our second one. Look how cute. Totally different look, but same exact fun fold. And then our third one is very, very bright. This one says happy birthday, and it's with the Pocket Thoughts stamp set and the Full of Life designer series paper, which let me tell you, I'm obsessed with the paper. I've used it so much. I've already almost gone through a pack of it. But what I did is I created my panels with the designer series paper, and then I took the cupcake and I stamped it right on this designer series paper in Petunia Pop, because it's a Petunia Pop card base. So I decided to pull in that Petunia Pop by stamping happy birthday with some texture. But I went ahead and stamped the cupcake in Petunia Pop right on a scrap piece of this paper, so it kind of looks like the icing has different shades of pink in it, which is a lot like an icing you would get at a bakery. And then I just fussy cut around it, and then I stamped a second cupcake in pecan pie on pecan pie paper, and then just layered the two together. So I glued down the cupcake paper, and then I used dimensionals for the cupcake frosting so that it's kind of pops out a little bit. So really, really cute. And I just so happened to have a scrap of paper that was already embossed with this fun little embossing texture. So I went ahead and used it on the middle. So it came out really cute. And I loved how the contrast of the paper, the back of the paper with the polka dots. I thought that was a lot of fun. So that's what I went with. And then on the back, wait till you see this. So it says lots of love, and I stamped the stamps in Petunia Pop to pull in our card base. But look at the back. I made one of the smallest pockets, and it says yay for you. And I just made it simple and just stamped a tiny corner of the cupcake in tuxedo black, and it just pops into that little tiny pocket. It fit perfectly. It made a cute little card, and I didn't worry about doing a whole lot more because that was all it needed. And then I used some embellishments on the front. So there is our third card. And the fun thing about these cards is you can make them feminine, masculine, complex, simple. It's just really whatever your creativity wants to do that day. So I will have all of the cutting instructions and assembly on my blog. There'll be a link below, as well as a link to my online store. So if you're interested in any of these products, please check out my online store. But don't forget to go and get all of the instructions so you can create your own fun fold card. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you next Wednesday. Let me know which one your favorite card is in the comments. I love to interact with my viewers. Have a great day. I'll see you next Wednesday.